Hello and welcome to Neuroshambles, the podcast that aims to shine a light into some of the murkier corners of what it's like to parent neurodivergent kids. I'm Mark Allen, and every episode I'm going to be swapping stories with my guests about some of the frankly ludicrous nonsense we have to deal with on a daily basis. So, if you're anything like me and you're feeling frazzled, overwhelmed and pretty much an outcast from polite society, join me. Hello and welcome to Neuroshambles episode 9. Thanks for joining us again, Neuroshamblers. I'm feeling and sounding a bit grotty at the moment, so my voice is going to be slightly different from usual, but I can assure you it is still me. Secondly, just wanted to say thank you to some of the lovely messages we received in response to the admin episode of the show, which sounds like a lot of people are going through very similar experiences, and so it was really nice to get some positive responses. I just wanted to read out an email I got from Louise, who said, the admin was very relatable, but you missed out one bit, the sodding photocopying and the filing. You have to photocopy the 50-odd page DLA form / EHCP thesis before you send it in case, brackets when, the powers that be lose it. Then you have to fill shelves in your spare room with soul-destroying negative testimonies, many written by yourself, of your beloved little people. Yeah, thanks for that. That is a facet that I had overlooked. I'll be honest, we recorded for nearly 2 hours, Jess and I, and had to edit quite a lot out of it. There was so much to include in that, but that was one that went a bit under the radar, so thanks for pointing that out. And if anyone else wants to send in stuff, I might make it a feature. We'll talk about stuff that some of the other listeners have pointed out I might have overlooked from the previous episode. Anyway, thanks for that, Louise. Just give you a quick rundown of what to expect this week. As ever, we're meeting a guest. This time it's a guest from a previous episode, which I'm very excited to welcome back. We've got a new topic of the week, neurodiversity champions feature, and we've also got some tiny epic wins and some what the flip moments as well. So there's plenty to look forward to. So without further ado, let's get started.
Meet the guest.
So I am absolutely delighted to be able to welcome back to the show our very first ever guest on Neuroshambles. It is Jo Matthews.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's so lovely to have you back.
It's lovely to be back.
Yeah. So for the listeners that haven't listened to episode 1 of the show, firstly, what are you doing? Go and listen to it. And secondly, just give us a quick recap about your particular setup, Jo, your family.
So I am Jo, and I live with my husband Phil and our adult and older teen children. So George is 20 and Dottie's 17. Both kids are diagnosed autistic. George also has an ADHD diagnosis. And Phil and I mean, we're just weird as fuck. So I think we've both gradually realised, hang on a minute.
Is that diagnosed or suspected?
Diagnosed weird as fuck. I think we've both gradually sort of thought, we are, in fact, we've been autistic all along. So that's us. And
okay.
I haven't listened to the first episode.
Oh, haven't you?
Well, my voice, I think I said this, I sound like Pat Butcher after a rough night on recordings. And so people have said, oh, it's really good, I really enjoyed it, all of that. But yeah, I can't.
You can't listen back to it.
I would die. I would die 1,000 deaths.
Well, it's lovely. It's lovely to have you on. Genuinely, it's a treat. So yeah, that's the introduction to your setup. Let's just smash on with the topic.
Let's do it.
What's the topic of the week?
So the particular topic of this podcast is the theme of social etiquette.
God.
I know. So, I mean, let's start by saying that social etiquette as a concept is fucking weird.
Really weird.
If you think about it, whatever you call it, it's good manners or politeness or civilized behaviour, it all boils down to this unwritten set of rules that society appears to have agreed upon hundreds of years ago without consulting anyone. It just has been passed down from generation to generation, but somehow everyone is expected to be governed by those invisible rules. And if you don't abide by them, you are considered somehow less civilized,
Yes.
rude.
And neurotypicals are given the set of rules somehow by osmosis the day they are born and grow up knowing. Well, I still don't know what the rules are or why you're not meant to say
I
certain
know, and it's funny
things.
because I'm very governed by
Oh, you're
social
very
etiquette.
polite.
I am. Thanks for noticing. I try very hard, but no, it is. You're right. I haven't been handed a manual for what is expected of in polite society, but it is something that you do pick up as a neurotypical. From either your parents teaching you and remembering that, because
Yeah.
as we'll get on to later, that I teach my kids, but it just doesn't stick. And also, just by watching other people in society and understanding, what is expected and picking it up that way. But it is a strange thing because it's not a thing I think that a lot of neurodivergent people instinctively pick up on. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely right, yeah. And it varies from culture to culture and person to person. So it's not even one set of rules. It's this whole mass of things that you're supposed to say or supposed not to say.
Yes. I actually asked Jay for a definition of politeness.
Oh, I dread to think.
It's just hilarious. It was at breakfast, and I went, "What? Could you give me a demonstration of good manners, Jay?" And he sat bolt upright in his chair.
Oh,
and
bless
he
him.
put on a very serious expression, and then he pretended to dab his mouth with a tissue.
That is good, Matt. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
I guess that's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is to...
Just have a napkin at all times, ready to dab.
I asked him what constitutes good manners, and he gave me 3 things. He said sitting in the assigned places,
Okay.
not shouting at the table, and wearing a tuxedo.
Maybe that's where I've gone wrong.
It's the lack of tuxedo that's letting you down,
That's
Joe.
why people think I'm rude.
Can you imagine you could get away with murder if you were wearing a tuxedo?
And dabbing my lips with a napkin.
Yeah, so there is this misnomer that politeness equates to poshness in a way, I guess,
yeah.
in that in order to be polite, you have to be cripplingly posh, wearing a tuxedo.
Very well spoken. What?
I wanted in this episode to kind of dive into what is social etiquette, what are the expectations, and how neurodivergency plays a part in fulfilling or not fulfilling those expectations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of my first kind of observations of this, just watching my own kids, is that my kids don't place any value on these rules.
No.
They don't care about, like, if I'm like pointing my finger in their face, or if I'm standing on furniture, or if I'm burping. Doesn't matter to them. They instinctively don't see the need to be governed by those rules because it's not anything they're offended by.
Yes.
I guess offence is one of those things, isn't it?
Yes. I think we talked about it last time. It's the notion that, so at clubs, when parents will bring kids up at the end and say, you must say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I mean, you can if you want to, but why is that important?
Well, because if they were in the situation where they were, like, if you think about it, right, you do an amazing job of putting together this, I'll call it an event loosely. Loosely, it's an event.
It's sometimes an event, indeed.
It's a gathering of humans, and you spend a lot of time setting that up, and probably more time cleaning afterwards.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's a huge thing, and if someone else had gone to the effort of doing that, then from a neurotypical perspective, you probably would appreciate people being thankful for that. Now, obviously, in a neurodivergent world, that's a different thing.
Yeah. Because in my mind, I always think, well, I know they enjoyed it because I saw them having a massive laugh. I don't need them to say these specific words in a specific order for me to feel okay about it. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird one. And I know it's really important to other people, but
they're projecting their neurotypicality onto you
Yes.
for a
Yeah.
start of going, well, Joe's not going to do it if we don't say thank you.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's listening, actually, who does come to my clubs, you don't need to say thank you. Gifts. Do bring gifts. Chocolates, cheese.
Thank me with cheese.
If that's how you want to say, if you want to say thank you and that's important, just bring cheese or chocolate and I'll be delighted.
But verbally is not necessary. One of the things you touched on earlier is that the social etiquette is sort of dependent on this shared understanding of these rules.
Yes.
Because, you know, if you, like you're saying, if you take it out of context, you know, there are some things that are rude. If you, like the thumbs up gesture in Afghanistan, apparently is like up yours.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously it's entirely contextual. You've got to go, you have to understand what the rules are in specific contexts.
Yes.
Now that's something that as a neurotypical, that's a difficult thing to kind of get your head around. But for a neurodivergent, it's probably even more so because you're having to kind of understand the context you're in and the expectations of other people.
Yes.
And it has to be an agreed understanding in general,
Yes.
I think. Because if I go to Afghanistan and put my thumbs up to someone and they're offended, am I being rude? If I don't know.
No.
It's like a
For
philosophical
sure.
question,
Oh, my
isn't it?
God. It's like if a tree falls in the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it my fault, according to the kids? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it's for me, with what I've kind of seen in my two, that it all boils down to not having any understanding of what's okay to say privately and what's okay to say
Okay.
publicly or to strangers or to. So I remember once when George was quite little and I was we were in the doctor's waiting room and he was being quite cute and I was having one of those, oh, this is great. I'm great at this parenting thing. And he walked up to this elderly man and was just looking at him. And I was going, oh, look, the guy must love it. And then George turned to me and loudly went, Mum, why is that one so grumpy? Like right in front of him. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm mortified. But he had no, and I think he still doesn't, no sense whatsoever that you don't talk about people right in front of the people.
Yes, particularly if it's not complimentary, or if it's not
No.
flattering.
Yes.
No, I have this. There is this sort of lack of awareness of how things are maybe perceived when you say
Yes.
that. I have this example from when we had a dog. We had a dog for a very brief time. Do you remember that?
It was a lovely dog.
It was a lovely dog.
Chaos.
Absolute carnage. We did not need that variable in our household. And we'll get onto the dog in another episode maybe. But we'd had the dog for about 3 weeks and we decided to all go out for a family walk.
Lovely.
And delightful idea, right? And everyone was on board with it, so that's fantastic. Now, Tam was walking ahead with Otto and the dog. And me and India and Jay were kind of hanging back a little bit. And then Jay looked ahead and then turned to me and went, it's not fair. Why does Otto get to walk with the best two? I was like, dude, I'm right here. Okay. And I wouldn't mind, but we'd only had the dog like 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
The dog had pissed on his bed. It had bitten him when he got in her face. It had ripped up his comics. And still, it's above me in the pecking order.
I mean, look, Mark, it's time to come clean. Had you pissed in his bed also? Could that perhaps be the issue?
That may be why it is.
You've got to stop.
But my point is, he was just telling his truth. You know, he wasn't, at no point did he think, that might be quite upsetting to Dad.
Yeah, no.
It was just like, these are facts. Why? Who could dispute them? They're just stone cold facts to him. So,
and were you offended? Or have you grown an incredibly thick skin?
I've had to. Because if I got offended by everything that Jay in particular says to me, Sometimes I do when I'm feeling a bit low and a bit
Yeah,
exhausted. Then it is, yeah, because it's quite hard to take when it's like,
yeah.
dude, the amount of shit I do for you,
Yeah,
and still I'm relegated to sub dog levels.
yeah.
But generally, you've got to understand the context of it, right? He's not intending it. Sometimes he does intend it, and that is probably when it's a
Yes.
bit harder to take.
Yeah. That's
But
when it really hurts, isn't it? Because I think our kids know how to absolutely push the button. I
yes.
remember when George was angry once, he just shouted at me, "You were too young to have children, and it really shows." And it's like, oh
Oh
my
my god.
gosh. Now, look, to be fair, I was 30 when I had him, so I don't know what old enough would have constituted, but I think, I don't know. I've never parented a neurotypical teen, but I wonder whether they would have a limit to what they would actually say to you. Whereas with my two, when they're angry, that nothing is off limits. They will say
Right.
the most terrible, hurtful, painful things
Yeah, I mean,
without.
I think that's probably coming.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Mark, brace yourself. Get yourself. My advice would be, as someone who's had the temerity to be overweight throughout the kids' teenage years, get yourself in physical perfection at all times, because any physical flaw you have will be shouted at you, and that can be painful.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. Another of the things that I want to kind of touch on is that manners, what is considered manners, is a completely fabricated concept. It's a
Yes.
social construct. It's kids aren't born with manners. It's not
No.
something that they instinctively know what to do. They have to have it taught. I mean, case in point, the very first thing that Jay did when he was born was shit all over Tam. And if that's not a metaphor for the rest of his
For the
life,
rest of his life. Oh, love
I
him.
don't know what is. But it's something that you're expected to learn. Obviously, if he did that now, I'd have a few words.
Whoa.
But it's something that you're like I say, you're kind of taught by your parents, or you pick up just by observing society. But none of these things, crucially, are natural. They have to
No.
be. It's learned behaviour. It's learned understanding.
Yes, and I think it. You might have said it to me before we were recording. It doesn't stick. I have tried and tried, and like Dot's a big one at the minute is if people pop round for a cup of tea, or she'll chat to them for a bit, and then right in front of them she'll look at me and go, "Mum, when are they leaving?" And no matter how many times I try to explain to a Dot, you can't. And then I struggle because I can't explain why you can't say that in front of people. You just can't. It's going to make them feel a bit unwelcome and a bit.
Yes, I think that's the thing, isn't it? But then Dottie would say, "Well, they aren't welcome now.
Yeah, exactly. She'll be like, "But I want them to leave now.
They've
I want
outstayed
the
their
house
welcome."
back." Yeah, yes. And then quite a lot of our friends. So if you spend enough time with Dottie, she'll say it herself. You get Stockholm syndrome because she's absolutely obnoxious, but you cannot help but love her because she's just so honest and funny and pure. So then I'll be trying to say, "Doc, you cannot say that. You've got to learn this. You can't." And the friends will go, "Oh, no, it's fine, Doc. I think I'll be about another half an hour." So maybe she's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, she's basically vetting your social group, isn't she? The people that stay after Dottie's finished with them, they're keepers.
Yes, that is very, very true. They're the ones to hang on to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
It's good having people in your life. It's important for any parent of neurodivergent kids to kind of gather those people in your life that don't mind, that aren't,
Yes.
actually that aren't really bothered by social etiquette. Because
Yes.
they understand and accept you as you are.
And the other ones disappear soon enough. You sort of, along
Oh,
the
yeah,
way,
yeah. They just
those invites dry up very quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that you've lost along the way.
Yeah, definitely. For
and
all
that's
sorts
okay.
of
That's
daft.
not,
I couldn't give a
let's
monkeys.
let's not lose too much sleep over those. One of the other things I wanted to kind of talk about was etiquette schools, or the insistence that you can teach etiquette to
Oh
people
my
who don't
God.
who don't naturally have this. So
Yeah,
because there are schools that are specifically geared towards teaching people to behave in
really?
civilized.
Like
Yeah,
finishing school.
yeah, exactly.
Do you think we should send them? Send the kids and just see if they would finish off.
They would finish the school. Well, one of them, because I got sort of weirdly obsessed with them, just going, "What are you?" I don't like. I like to think that society has evolved a little bit since the time where that was a thing. That feels very
Yeah.
sort of 19th century. One of them claims to be like a disability first employer, and
Oh
I
my
got
God.
really pissed off about that. It's like, how can you be?
Yeah.
If you, the very fact that you're teaching social etiquette, and they've got loads of accreditations from people who work with them, it's like, well,
That's insane.
how can you be a disability first employer if you're placing a
So
focus on
what?
something that a large amount of people are not able to access because of their disability?
Yeah.
Because you're
What
not
do
getting
they
autistic.
teach?
They teach you how to behave at a dinner table, and the best way to
Well, we
greet
know we've
people, and
got that. You dab yourself with a napkin.
exactly.
Done.
So
That one's down pat.
maybe that's what they should do. If you really
Yeah.
want to be a disability first employer, take Jay on, right?
Yeah. Hand
He'll-
him a napkin.
he's got it nailed. Yeah, I found that slightly odd. That I don't know. Maybe am I wrong to be?
No, I think it's bizarre. I think that whole notion of teaching etiquette and teaching. So, again, to my eternal shame, when mine were little, they were both offered these social skills groups in
Mhm.
school. And what I later realised was what they were doing, with the very best of intentions, was trying to teach the kids how to behave like a neurotypical.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of the etiquette they were teaching was, oh, when the teacher's teaching, you must sit absolutely still, otherwise you're being rude.
Really?
You're not being rude, you're being autistic. You
Yeah,
might need to
exactly.
fidget and fiddle and move around. I think the caveat for me would be that parents need to make their own decisions
Yeah.
about stuff. And I don't judge anyone who finds that helpful or who kind of wants that for their kids. But for me, it's very much the underlying message could be taken as being you're not good enough being your authentic autistic self. So therefore, we're going to teach you how to behave in a more acceptable way.
Mhm.
And no,
But then
that,
on the flip side, our kids are out in the world, and it's a neurotypical world,
I
and so they,
know.
any any guidance they can get that's going to help them navigate that, to go, actually, why is that guy pulling that face? Oh, it's because I'm standing on his foot.
Oh, I'm
Or,
pointing at him.
what, whatever it is. It's
Oh
anything that
no.
we can equip them with, because that's the thing. I think that's the probably a worry of all neurodivergent parents of neurodivergent kids on some level, is
Yeah.
how can we equip them in as much as possible in a world that is riddled with neurotypicality.
Oh my God, it's everywhere. Well, I think it's trendy, isn't it, now to be neurotypical? It's all over TikTok, so they're all jumping on the bandwagon. Do you know what is the best tip I've been told, and it's sort of autistic approved?
Mhm.
The 5-minute rule.
Okay.
And this is specifically, I think it works best with the parents, that if your comment is about something the person can change within 5 minutes, then it's okay to say. So it might be all right for me to say to my friend, oh, you've got like something in your
Mhm.
teeth there, you might want to go. If it isn't something they can change in 5 minutes, you don't say it. So it wouldn't be all right for me to say to my friends, Jesus Christ, you're ugly, or whatever, or you're really fat, you want to sort that out. And that, my kids both, to varying degrees of success, use that one, and that's really
That's
helpful in
quite useful.
differentiating. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to try that on Jay in particular.
I don't think it will. Which, knowing you're a boy as I do and loving your boy as I do, I don't think he'll care.
Yeah, Otto might get something out of it. We'll never know. Well, I'll
Well,
give
yeah.
it a go. We'll see.
You can only give them the tools. It's up to them whether or not they build anything with them.
One of the things I wanted to do was look at what one of these etiquette schools advises
Oh, brilliant.
in terms of the polite and proper way to behave in a civilized society. So the first question on their website is, why is etiquette important? So
I'm all ears because I have no idea.
I'm going to read this with the appropriate level of pomposity in my voice.
Good. Poshness.
Okay. Etiquette is important because it establishes a set of social norms and expectations that help individuals interact with each other in a respectful, considerate, and appropriate manner.
Oh,
That's it.
God.
Opening bit of their website.
Oh, my God.
Respectful, considerate, and appropriate. Now, we've already discussed this on previous episodes. Those terms mean nothing.
Oh,
They are
my
not tangible. They are not quantifiable. They are entirely subjective terms.
Yeah. Appropriate according to who as well.
Exactly.
Wow.
So for neurodivergents who like to deal in tangible facts, right? So much of the world is kind of unknown and unknowable that my kids in particular seem to seize on cold hard facts. I can trust them.
Good.
That's a certainty. But so something like be respectful means absolutely nothing to them,
that mean?
They don't want to have to interpret that. So already we're on shaky ground when it comes to social etiquette and my kids. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go through the top 10 rules.
Oh, great.
This etiquette school recommends that all people should follow if they want to be considered polite and well-mannered. And then we'll test them against their own children.
Right, good.
See how well-mannered they are.
I've got so much confidence in my two. Come on, kids. You're going to smash this.
Number 1, use people's names. That's the first one. It says, a name is everyone's most prized possession, and you'll be amazed how doors open. Waiters and shop assistants will do anything for you when you greet them by name. It's the magic word.
Wow.
So how do yours fare on that front?
No, they don't at all. They don't. For a start, they don't recognise people, even if we've known them years and years. So, the recognising them would be the first step. Remembering their name, no, they don't remember anyone's name. Yeah, this is ridiculous. In fact, your boy at club a few weeks ago, that a woman came, a specialist OT, who has apparently been visiting your house for weeks and weeks and weeks, working with Otto.
Yeah.
And Tam had sort of said, oh, look, Jay, this is so-and-so. And he just looked up and down and went, I've no idea who that is. And he walked away.
Oh, my God. It's mortifying.
So, yeah, rule 1, no.
But that's the thing.
But we're not doing that.
I think Otto in India are actually quite good at remembering names. I think people's names are quite important to Otto in particular. Jay, no. He went to he went to Dungeons and Dragons club recently, and he made what he described as a friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, which is amazing. And Tam went, what was his name? And he went, Pizza Boy. It's like, no, that definitely wasn't his name. He was just eating pizza. It's not anything that occurs to him to ask. He doesn't care, and he will very often. I've heard him say it. I don't remember your name. And again, like, that's a very neurotypical thing, is to be offended if people don't remember you don't remember who I am.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Which is stupid, isn't it? Especially, he's got so much other stuff going on in his brain. Mine. I mean,
why? Yeah.
I mean, I'd be upset if he forgot my name. Obviously.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's unlikely that he will, but I'm going to say it's not impossible
I won't rule
that
it
he'll
out.
forget who you are entirely. So just, Just go with the flow on that.
My favourite story of Jay not remembering a name was not a human but a cat. We stayed because he didn't even try to remember the name. He just made one up, and it was brilliant. We were staying with some friends, and they've got a cat called Mojo, which is, it's a cool name for a cat. It's a great name for a cat. And I said, Jay, that cat's name's Mojo. Remember that name. I'm going to test you in the morning. Right? I just thought I'd give it as, low stakes, just a bit of his name's Mojo. Okay, don't forget. And then in the morning. He walked in and I went, "Oh, Jay, what's the cat's name?" And he just looked at him, looked straight at the cat, and then straight back at me and went, "Arnold Sardini." Without even thinking.
That's an excellent name for a cat.
It's a brilliant
I don't think you can take anything away from what Jay's done there, because Arnold Sardini, I'd call a cat that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when our cat goes, Arnold Sardini may rise from the ashes.
Arnold Sardini, yes.
But he doesn't care. It's just like, it's what as long as he's giving it a name in his head, Pizza Boy, Arnold Sardini, just walking around the world naming things so that he can identify them. That's all he needs.
See,
in a way, I wish that I had Jay's confidence to not care. Because I've been in so many conversations with people and I don't know their names, and I fucking panic. I stress.
And die 1,000 deaths.
Yeah, I'm mortified if I can't remember someone's name, and I'm just like looking at someone to try and help me out.
Don't you just ask them?
No, because I'm cripplingly neurotypical. I mean, like, not all neurotypicals are the same, but there is this sort of implication that even asking them is impolite.
Really?
Yeah, it's like this weird.
Oh shit! I just say to people, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name."
No, that's fine.
Do you think that's okay? Oh my God,
my
I'm really
problem.
worried.
No, it's my problem.
It's you.
I mean, again, it's how well you know them. If you've been introduced to them once or twice, but obviously, if you see them, parents at school is the worst, because I see them every day, and I've probably been told their name. I've probably been to the pub with them. And then if I'm completely blank, and I feel terrible about that. So in a way, I wish that I had the freedom to not give a shit, like Jay. That would be liberating.
Be more Jay. I think we should live by those words.
Absolutely. Okay, number 2 on the list of what constitutes social etiquette is use proper greetings. Yep, it says always greet people with a smile and a hello.
Hello.
And this is actually one of the diagnostic criteria for autism. I don't know if it's like official, but in both Otto and Jay's diagnosis report, it mentioned that when they entered the room, they didn't even look at the person already in that room or say hello. They just got on with it. Whatever it was they were getting on with. They just, like, Jay just kind of, I think, started climbing on stuff. And Otto, I think he just eye contact's a big thing for him. So he wasn't particularly interested. He kind of walked in and sort of ignored them. And it was mentioned in both of the assessment documents as being something that is kind of symptomatic of autism, which I didn't really know.
How interesting.
Yeah. In Otto's case, he ran over to the stairs and started stroking the carpet.
As you do.
as he does, evidently. And the person just started holding the door open for him. Not particularly, but I think it was just a distraction for him. It was, I don't know. I think he probably felt uncomfortable about that initial engagement. In hindsight, I think that's probably what it is. So then he was like, well, I got to do something. I'll stroke the carpet.
I'll stroke this carpet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. Is the kind of greeting people. Do yours do that? Are they
No,
good
they
greeters?
don't. I was just thinking, and so yesterday me and Dots were out and we bumped into a friend, and because it was an unplanned encounter, Dot just froze and sort of shoulders went up and she was like that. But yeah, I don't think they've ever smiled and said hello. I've never even thought about it. I mean, why would you?
No.
Because it's social etiquette.
Because, that's what's expected, apparently. On a similar note, rule number 3 is say please and thank you, which we've sort of touched on. But what they say is, these are basic manners and show gratitude and respect. Always say please when making a request and thank you when receiving help from others.
Yeah.
Why?
Which is just, yeah.
Like, I know.
And why does it matter? It's a very British thing, isn't it? I used to work with a woman from Iceland who never said please or thank
Oh,
you.
really? And did you?
I loved
Were
her.
you okay?
Yeah.
Fine. You weren't offended
Because
or anything.
no,
Do you
I
know other
don't.
people who were though? Because I think
Yes, other people we
Okay.
work with were like, "Oh, she's very rude," and then I might be lying when I say I don't think there are words in Icelandic for please and thank you. There
Right.
must be.
Like,
That sounds like a lie, doesn't it? But culturally, it's not an expectation
okay, yeah,
that
that's
you would say
interesting.
please or thank you.
Hmm.
And for similar reasons, I've always really liked Dutch people. There's not a lot of please and thank yous and you know that very British thing of would you mind awfully, could you
Yes,
please?
everything is
Like,
apologetic. Yeah.
yeah, I find other cultures will just say exactly what they mean, and if they want something, they'll say, "I would like that," and then I'm like, "Yeah, here you go."
Yeah.
And it's just easier. It makes much more
Oh,
sense.
totally. But it is. I mean, I am aware that British society in particular is governed by those two words, and
Oh my
encounters
God.
are kind of smoothed over if people show politeness in that sense. And like, so I still expect my kids to say please and thank you to me, and I know I'm on a losing battle, but I'm trying to just prepare them so
Yeah.
that they're not kind of pissing people off by being seen to be rude, because I think all parents teach this to their kids. Like, kids
Yes.
again have to learn that behavior so that it just becomes, it's just an instinct then, and then you've got that as it's almost like a verbal tick, right? You've just got, it
Yeah.
just happens at the end of a sentence, or and that helps to kind of oil the wheels of interaction. The next rule of social etiquette is number 4. Look at the person who is speaking to you. This is very important to the etiquette people.
Why?
It says, they say, when meeting someone for the first time, it's important to introduce yourself and make eye contact while shaking hands.
Eye contact. You must make that. I think George's school, when he was in infant school, so a long time ago now, used to try and teach him to make eye contact, which I now realise is utterly dreadful,
Yeah.
and they can fuck right off with that. He doesn't need to make eye contact. Maita have told me that making eye contact is actually sometimes physically painful. And why would you make a child do something that physically hurts them?
Shake hands as well. It's like,
Oh my God, Dot's absolutely fucked there. She doesn't like people touching her, and she's not going to make eye contact. She doesn't like it.
no.
Oh,
Well, evidently people consider it rude. I mean,
oh.
so much of eye contact though, it's instinctual, isn't it? I think. I don't realise I'm doing it, but I know that a lot of
Yeah.
neurodivergent people have to consciously remember to make eye contact because of this rule. They have to force themselves to do it, to not offend people, which is weird. I mean, I don't think I've ever been
Yeah.
offended by it. I mean, to be honest, if you don't make eye contact, I'd be like, oh, you're neurodivergent, fine.
Yeah. And I wonder if as more people are aware of neurodivergence, will that become less of an issue? Yeah, that's always been something that I opposed at home. I think in school, I think said in the social groups, there was some like, you must make eye contact. But honestly, why?
Yeah, like you're saying, it can be physically painful to
Yeah.
some neurodivergents to make that eye contact. So you're forcing
Yeah.
them into this uncomfortable situation. I think part of it, because I know I do this in our house, particularly to Otto, and every time I do it, I was like, I should stop doing that. I ask him to look at me, and that's because I need to know
Yeah.
that he's paying attention. He's so easily
Yeah.
distractible. If I'm trying to communicate something important, I ask him to look at me, and I absolutely shouldn't do that because I know that he finds it difficult,
Yeah.
and B, just because he's not looking at me doesn't necessarily mean he's not listening to me.
Yeah. It's tricky though, because sometimes they really aren't listening, they've zoned out.
I know.
And you've spent 5 minutes going on about something that's just got. Yeah,
Very often.
it's a minefield.
So I need to find an alternative to that. is like, just wave your hand if you're listening, or
Yes.
something like that, rather than
Or if
that.
you want to be really cruel, I felt like I was being ignored, I used to just slip in, "Do you want one of these sweets? Heads with whipped browns." And I'd be like, "Well, you bloody well can hear me then."
Oh, I like that. I'll try
See?
that one. Yeah.
You won't find that in any of the parenting manuals, Mark.
No,
It's
but
just something I worked up myself.
as was already established, parenting manuals do not hold any weight in
No.
our setups.
No.
We write our own. Okay, number 5 on the list of good etiquette is, man, practice good table manners.
Oh,
This is
God.
Oh my god. So what they say about this includes using utensils properly, keeping your elbows off the table, and chewing with your mouth closed.
Oh,
Also,
God.
wait until everyone is served before starting to eat.
Hi. I mean, do you try and sit and eat round a table?
I'm just laughing because of how far removed from my daily
Yes.
life that
Yes.
is. None
Yes.
of those things. Using utensils, no. Keeping
No.
elbows off the table. I have a problem keeping their feet off the table.
Yes.
Chewing with your mouth closed, no. And waiting until everyone is served before starting to eat. I've kind of got the other problem of just getting them to eat in the first place as well. So, I mean, I've got my own battles going on there.
Do they sit at the table? Do you try and do that idealised, or we'll all sit together and share a meal and talk about our day?
We put the food on the table.
Do you have plates, or is it?
we have, yes.
You
Yeah,
don't
we
just dump
tip
the
it
food
out.
out.
Go help yourselves.
Yes.
No. We put the food on the table, and I think the expectation is that we start out sitting.
Oh,
I think that's the best we can do. And this is definitely a topic that I'm going to have. It's going to be a whole separate podcast about meal times. Separate to food. Food will be a different one, but meal times in particular because of the rigmarole involved. But it is something that my kids are not great at. And we had an experience once where we went to stay with some friends of Tam's, and they're lovely people and incredibly well mannered. The kids are impeccably well mannered. At one point, I think the child did a clarinet recital while we were sitting at the table. It was like, it was so far removed from anything.
You're a little feral bunch of hooligans just bouncing off walls.
Yeah.
God.
And I had to witness, because the adults were eating later. So they did mealtime for the kids, and they made spaghetti, and I was like, oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh no.
And all the kids sat down at the table, and because I wasn't eating, I was obviously just sort of overseeing this, and it was a fucking car crash. It was like, because they were sat on one side of the table, and my lot was sat the other. Yeah. Like mine was sat the other side of the table, and the looks on their faces as they witnessed my kids literally.
Spaghetti. What were they thinking?
But they don't know, because they assume that, they assume we're following the etiquette rules, right? So my kids are literally fisting spaghetti into their face. Otto's only using his fingers. There's spaghetti everywhere. I may be misremembering this, but I'm in my imagination there was a white tablecloth. And I remember just kind of witnessing the horror on the other family's face as they witnessed my lot literally talking with their mouth full, like they were eating it, which for me was a win. Do you know what I mean? You're eating food cooked by someone else. That's like, but obviously I'm sort of witnessing the reaction and how mortifying it was from their perspective. And the kids on the family, I could see actively starting to enjoy it and starting to be amused by just how relaxed it was. And
I'm thinking that we could do this.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that they had to have a family debrief at the end to just go, this is not what we do, okay?
We are not.
We are not these people.
Are you still friends with them?
Yeah, because they're not... I don't feel like there was any judgment.
It's
Do you
not
know what I
their
mean?
fault. Their
There
kids are
wasn't.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
well, it is, and all
Well,
credit to
yeah.
them. Well done.
Yeah.
But no, there wasn't any expectation that we. Yeah, they weren't annoyed, but I think they were
Yeah.
just a bit like, oh, this is
Oh.
a very different
Oh.
situation. And they
Yeah.
were lovely about it. But I do feel like they needed to deprogram their children after what they witnessed. Okay, do you want to know 6 on the etiquette rules?
I really
This
do.
this is number 6. Be mindful of your language.
Fuck off.
Avoid using foul language, especially in public places. Use polite and
Oh.
respectful language at all times.
Oh.
I mean, I swear.
Yeah.
If the last episode was anything to go by, I swear a little bit too much. I got that was it's
Did
quite
she
sweary.
get banned by Google
No,
again?
No, but I listened back to it. It's like, yes, it was an animated subject. It was about admin, so there was, it required swearing.
Oh, yeah.
But I do swear, but I also know when not to swear.
Yes.
Like I know when it's appropriate and when it's inappropriate, and used judiciously, swearing can be a really powerful tool and a really good social tool. But
Yeah.
I know when not to do it, and I don't think that. Firstly, my kids haven't yet fully discovered swearing.
Oh.
I mean,
you've got
we're in a
so
golden
much fun
time
to look forward to.
We're in a golden time right
Yeah.
now, but because what I know is that when they do, the big challenge is when it's appropriate to use that and when not.
Yes.
I mean, how are yours? Because obviously
They
yours are older.
swear like sailors. They've lived with me for far too long not to. But what I found, it spreads like a virus. Once the older one realises, hang on, these words are quite fun to say. That's it,
Yeah.
game over. For you, it'll just go bang, bang, bang down through the three of them.
Because it's a weird concept, swearing anyway, because they're just words, right? So actually, the
Exactly.
power of swear words is entirely imbued by etiquette.
Yeah. And
Like
why
if
isn't
no
it
one,
okay?
if it was just another word and no one was offended and it wasn't impolite to use those words, they would have no power.
Yeah. My rule was they swear like sailors. They swore a lot at home, and I can't get worked up about it. It's, they're teenagers. That's by the by. My one rule at home and at clubs is I don't care if you swear. I care if you swear at each other. So it's all right to say, no, I've dropped my fucking paintbrush, but it's not all right to call someone a fucking fuckhead.
Yeah.
Because that's unkind, and that's
Yes.
that's the only. Because otherwise, does it matter?
Not to us, no. But then again, you got, if you go in a job interview,
Yeah.
what experience have you got? 5 fucking years at Burger King, mate.
Yeah.
It's like, or whatever it was. You need to teach context. Okay, rule 7. Again, not one that's easily adhered to by my family. Respect personal space.
Oh God.
So don't stand too close to people and always ask before touching someone. Be aware of your surroundings and respect people's privacy.
I think we might have actually hit on the one social rule of etiquette that my two pass, because my two don't want to stand near anyone or indeed touch them. Boom.
Okay, there we go.
We are polite.
1 out of 10.
Yes.
Actually, no, one out of 7 so far.
Well, see, the last 3 we might smash, and then my family are the winners. Do yours would they touch someone?
They grab a lot. They grab that kind of thing. If someone's got something that they want to have a look at, they'll just grab which is infuriating. And also, Otto is a bit more just literally in your face and all over you. Like, he's not really aware of his body as much, I think.
Yeah. And how do you learn?
Well, I don't know. Again, that's...
Temple Grandin taught herself how to approach people by, automatic doors. Apparently, she used to go and practice walking up to them, because if you walk up to them too quickly, they don't sense you and open. And you've got to find that golden speed of and that's how she
Oh, that's
learned
really interesting.
how to walk up to other people. It's like, if I learn the speed at which this door opens, that's a normal, in inverted commas, a typical speed at which to approach.
Okay.
So maybe there's things like that that people can use
'Cause
to
there's a-
sort of learn what's the expectation, what are the
Yeah,
rules.
that's really interesting. I mean, like I say, Otto is no respecter of social distance, but he's still a kid, and people forgive it from
He's
kids.
little,
They
yeah.
understand it from kids.
Yes.
When they get older, I think that becomes more of a thing: personal boundaries and social
Yes.
distance and stuff, and physical proximity becomes more of an issue. Because if you encounter people in everyday life that do that, they're just a bit too close to you, and you
Oh my God, yeah, and you keep back, and in the end, it's like you're being chased around a room by them because they keep coming just a fraction too
Yeah.
close, and it feels so uncomfortable.
So it's definitely a thing. It's
Yeah.
definitely a thing that people feel, but how you learn that, I don't know. Because if you
Yeah.
don't feel
And
it, if
apparently-
you don't feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable as a result of that, then you don't understand what effect your proximity is having on people.
Yes. And how do you prioritise all of these rules as well?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, you could learn that you've maybe put out an arm, and an arm's length of distance is the appropriate. But then every time you spoke to someone, it'd be exhausting because you'd be thinking, right, I've got to be an arm's length distance. I need to look near them. I must use their name. I must say please and thank you. It'd be so exhausting that you'd end up just walking away.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
Who's got the energy for that?
Yeah, because you have to relearn it every time as well. You're like, I've
Yes.
learned this. Oh, I need to get out of this guy's face and stop swearing.
No. Just
what's-
stop swearing at him. Or just use his name when you're swearing.
Yeah.
Hello, Mark. How the fuck are you? Perfect.
Rule number 8: dress appropriately. There's that word again, appropriately.
Oh, God.
Dress appropriately for the occasion and location. If you are unsure of the dress code, remember that it is always better to be slightly overdressed than underdressed.
Tuxedo.
So, that's a tuxedo again.
Just tuxedo at all times.
I
That's,
mean, I'll be honest, getting my kids dressed at all is an achievement.
oh my God, yeah. If they're wearing clothes, you're winning.
Overdressed for Jay is wearing pants at dinner time. Seriously, I constantly have to remind him. Like, that's the one rule I got.
Just
Got to wear.
be-
I don't want to see your junk at the dinner table, dude.
No one wants to see that.
Let's-
No one wants that in their spaghetti.
yeah. So
I've got this mental image now of Jade butt naked, crouched on the table, picking up fistfuls of spaghetti like a wild monkey and shoveling them in.
it's
Wonderful stuff.
you don't know how
Wonderful.
true to life that vision is, Joe.
But the autistic uniform, Crocs. Do yours wear Crocs?
My God, yes. Crocs and onesies. That's the staple.
Yeah.
And I've tried. And again, clothing is going to be a whole separate episode. And I'm really kind of interested
Oh my
to talk
God,
about
yeah.
that. But it's kind of having an awareness of what to wear in certain situations, I think, is the thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Like weddings and stuff. I mean, fortunately,
Oh my
we have
God,
not been
yeah.
invited to a wedding for a long time now. I wonder
There's
why
probably
that
a
is.
reason
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if that does happen, that I think is going to be quite a big problem now. The last wedding I went to was my brother's wedding, and that was probably 5 years ago. So before, I think some of their autistic behaviours became a bit more kind of prevalent, and before we were more aware of it, they just wore normal clothes, and that was okay. I can't imagine how I'd approach that now.
No, I mean, I think it would have to be, if the kids can't wear what they need to wear, we can't come.
Or if you're going
Do
to
you
have
think?
if you're going to have a dress code that dictates that my kids are not welcome in what they're comfortable in, I don't think. To be honest, I don't think, because you get invited to weddings by people who you know and who like you,
People who love you and
exactly.
want- yeah,
So
yeah.
they kind of get it, and if they don't, then I don't want to go anyway.
Then, yeah.
But it
I
is.
went on the boy's back.
Is he dressed appropriately, Joe?
He looks really nice, actually, because that's the thing as well. They do come out the other side and develop an interest in hygiene and sort of wearing clothes and develop their own sense of style.
Yes, and
But
that's the thing, isn't it? That's
yeah,
it's their own sense. That's the crucial thing. It has to be driven by them. It has to
yeah,
be their choice.
yeah.
And I fully expect, given Jay's essentially Victorian demeanour, I can imagine he's gonna evolve into someone who wears like a tweed suit or something.
He could. I've seen a program about a young autistic adult who enjoyed dressing as a Victorian
There you go.
gentleman. That could be Jay. He could he have a twirly moustache? Can I just
I mean,
put that
he's already
request in?
established that when he's older, he's going to have a moustache and a budget. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely on the cards for him. But crucially, we can't impose a dress code on our kids
No.
without
No.
a lot of blowback on that. All right, I'm going to go to number 9 of the etiquette rules, because this is one that my kids fall down on quite badly as well. Number 9, be interested in others. So this is: pay attention to what people are saying and show interest in their opinions. Avoid interrupting or dominating the conversation. Also, be respectful and considerate of other people's opinions.
Oh dear God.
So many issues there. Respectful and considerate. Again, we've got those completely nonsensical woolly words.
Yeah.
Interest in others. Do yours show an interest in other people?
I mean, I think Dart's better at it because she's got that innate girl sociability.
Mm-hmm.
George, if he doesn't find what someone's saying is interesting, he'll just change the subject. He will interrupt and change the subject. And I don't know, but he's got lots of friends, so I don't know how he gets away with it.
Well,
if I'm
because
honest.
I
Do
guess.
yours listen?
No, oh sweet Jesus!
Sorry,
no.
go on.
No, I mean, no, they don't. They listen if it directly interests them or if it pertains to anything that they kind of want to do. But if I'm talking about something else, they just zone out. You can see them just switching off.
Yeah.
Like Jay will just do that,
Yeah.
and then wait until my voice has stopped. I've stopped talking, and then he'll launch into what he wanted to say in the first place. So it was evident that he was just waiting for the. It's like the teacher. I imagine that in his head, I'm the teacher from Snoopy, in Charlie Brown. You know, and then eventually the teacher stops, and then the answer comes of just what he wanted to say in the first place. So he's not going to show an interest in something just to be polite. It's never going to happen.
I've been working with George on it because he can be quite socially anxious of late, which is new because he was always very hedonistic and outgoing. And yeah, we've been working on, you can ask people questions, and that's how if you feel awkward in a conversation, because everyone enjoys talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I would make him do it to be polite, though. I'm sort of trying to help him learn to ask questions just to get through social scenarios.
I mean, one of the things that's mentioned in that one is about not interrupting. That is a massive problem in our house, and it's so infuriating. Whenever Tam and I is having a conversation, we're constantly interrupted, and I get why that is perceived as rude, because it's basically saying what you're talking about is not important. It is nowhere near as important as this. And Otto is particularly bad at interrupting because he wants to join us, I guess. He wants to be sociable, so he'll just interrupt what we're talking about, but it's never anything of importance, because he could, like, interruptions are acceptable if it's like, the bin's on fire.
Yeah,
that's that's an important. Yes, you're right.
That you would want to know that.
Yes, that is more important than what you're talking about. I'm pretty fair. I think we can fairly say. But it's not that. He will interrupt to say, do you want to hear about the goal I scored at lunchtime?
To
and it's
which
like,
there is only one
what?
acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do, but not right now.
Yeah,
Is actually
yeah.
the only acceptable answer. So I actually implemented a system once when
Once.
when we were eating, where I made the kids put their hand up if they wanted to talk.
I love
And
it.
it worked. It worked really well
Oh
for a
my
little bit.
God.
It was absolutely wonderful. So I would be talking to answering one of the kids' questions, and rather than
Yeah.
them just firing another one at me and talking over their sibling, they put their hand up.
Oh,
And
that's
for a little
lovely.
brief moment in time, it felt like I was at a press conference. Okay,
Yes, I'll take your question next.
you. Otto from the Daily Mail. What have you got to say? Yeah, it was really, it worked for a very, very short amount of time, but now we're back to just talking
Just
over each other and
chaos.
firing.
Yeah.
And not waiting for me to answer before the next question comes in and that kind of thing. And I get why that is seen as rude.
Because thinking about my own experiences, I genuinely struggle to know when it's my turn to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm better in person or when I can see the other person. On the phone, I'm terrible. I hate phone calls because how do you know? How do people know?
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting because, like I feel like I feel like I could do it. It's not a thing I'm conscious of not being able to do, which doesn't necessarily mean that I don't do it. It's just, I'm not conscious of a difficulty with knowing when it's my turn to talk.
Yeah.
But it is weird, isn't it? That's that's an interesting thing of like, when the pause is long enough. Now you've made me really self-conscious while I'm
See?
having this conversation.
Now you're thinking about it. Do you just wait for the other person to stop? I said, you have to wait for them to stop. But how do you know when they've stopped or if they're just doing a pause for emphasis? So it's a minefield.
Have you stopped now, or are you
I've
pausing?
stopped. Yeah, no,
Okay,
it's
good.
This is podcast gold.
It is.
Just spend the rest going, have you stopped?
Yes.
Is it my turn?
To raise your hand when it's your turn to speak. Interruptions are a bit of a nightmare, and also the other one is being respectful of other people's opinions. Again,
No respect whatsoever.
no. I mean, it's very rarely the case, particularly with Jay. There's no such thing as agreeing to disagree.
No.
With Jay. It's like, I will agree that you are wrong, is what I get from Jay. So I'm wrong and he's right, end of story. And that is the case all the time.
Every single time. There are no exceptions to that.
No, because there can't be two viewpoints. There's only one viewpoint, and that's his viewpoint. Yeah. And my viewpoint is not his viewpoint, therefore wrong.
Yeah.
It's a... he fails hard on that particular facet of etiquette. The final one on the rules of social etiquette as defined by the I'm not going to say the name of the school, but the etiquette school.
I want to go there.
It's not one I'm going to be linking in the show notes, put it that way. It is be mindful of other people's feelings.
Oh God. Yeah.
It is important to show those around us that we respect them and are considerate to their feelings. Again, respectful and considerate it's something that underpins a lot of the rules that everything that we've discussed is not hurting other people's feelings, not offending people, not making them uncomfortable. It's about them.
Yeah.
And that's something that doesn't come naturally to my kids, and for many neurodivergent kids, is understanding how other people perceive their behaviour.
Yes, and why the other person might feel upset by things that they've said or done. Because I know for my two, the notion that autistic people don't have empathy is utter nonsense. They absolutely do have empathy, and they care about people's feelings, and they're loving little people. They're just really fucking by neurotypical standards. And
yes, that's the thing, isn't it?
That's the kind of the kicker of it. They don't want to be offensive or rude or, behave in a way that hurts feelings, but they don't have the
And
understanding of what
and
that might be.
the proof there is that neurodivergents in the same conversation are not offended.
Yes,
You know, so it's
exactly.
like neurotypicals have written the rules to which everyone needs to supposedly adhere to. Otherwise, you're not in the gang. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just it's so hard. It must be such a struggle. Genuinely, I like for my kids, and especially as they're getting older and they're going to start sort of being around other kids where social interaction is so much more important. To have to be
Yes.
governed by these rules they don't get must be exhausting for them.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Which is they need, well, for me, my kids needed their tribe.
Hmm.
And so they both predominantly have autistic or neurodivergent friendships. They've got
Hmm.
maybe one or two token neurotypicals as friends.
Tokens.
Yeah. And because that's a safe place for them to be, is with
Yes.
other people who won't take offence over
Yeah,
something completely
absolutely.
arbitrary that they don't
Yeah.
understand.
And
And
that's my hope. That's my hope
yeah,
for all of my kids, is that they find people who are, well, you do. I think you do. I mean, we do as families as well. We hang out with families who are not
yeah.
appalled by us. Basically, it's a
That's
low bar.
it's a low bar.
That's what you've got to do, right? It's so anyone
Yes.
who is instinctively sort of irritated by the way that you are can do one. It's like
Yes.
there's not enough time in my life for people
Yeah.
who are going to disapprove of what we do, and that's okay. You can go and find neurotypical families. There are many more of those to
Yeah.
grace your life with. That's fine.
Yeah.
And we'll go and disgrace other people's lives.
So maybe
um
that's the key to it all, is that you find your group of people with whom you don't have to follow the unwritten rules, because then you can relax
yes.
and be yourselves and actually, yeah, maybe even enjoy life a bit. But maybe we teach our
Lighten up
kids
a
a
bit.
little bit. Maybe we teach our kids enough of the rules so that when they go into that context where they have to, that they're able to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, looking at the positives as well, because I've been thinking about this. And like, some of my favourite people, yourself included, Joe, are the people that don't follow those rules.
Yeah.
They're not bound by those rules. It's sort of it's much more enjoyable when people don't stand on ceremony, right? That whole thing
Yeah.
about, behaving in a proper way. I much prefer improper people. They're much more
Good.
fun.
Yeah.
And so the people that call that out all kind of are more fun to be around, I think. And sometimes there is nothing funnier than people breaking social etiquette.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I remember a time, one of the funniest things I can ever remember was when I was probably about 8 and I was at school. And I went to a school that had school assemblies where we would have to do a prayer. Okay. As you can tell, it's had a big impact on my life. I'm highly religious.
Amen to that.
Right. Okay. We had to do a prayer. And one of the funniest things I ever remember is doing a prayer, and it was absolutely silent. Everyone had got their
Yeah.
heads bowed and they were praying, and then someone did a massive fart. Right. Like, it echoed around this sports hall.
Yeah.
And I remember just the shock, the initial shock, and then the absolute hilarity that ensued, and everyone's just absolutely pissing themselves. Was it polite? Absolutely
Probably
not.
not.
Am
Yeah.
I still laughing about it more than 40 years on? You
Yes.
fucking bet I am.
Farts are inherently funny. I defy anyone
They are inherently
to
funny.
say otherwise.
But it wasn't just the fart, it was the situation.
The
It was the seriousness and
Yeah.
the sort of the etiquette was absolutely shattered at that moment. And it was, it's genuinely a moment that's lived with me. So there is definitely a place for those people. I don't know what the farter is doing now. It's no doubt, something magnificent with their lives.
Do you think they ever think about the fart? Well, like, was it a deliberate thought? Were they brazening it out, or
I mean,
we'll never know.
it's difficult. It's difficult to really understand, but it sounded defiant.
Oh, a defiant fart clattering on the wooden
It was-
floor.
So the final thing I kind of would say about social etiquette before we round this bit off is I've been thinking about this. Do you remember in COVID times, which wasn't that far ago, so you remember that far back, when people had to wear face masks, but
Yes.
some people, particularly who found that difficult for many reasons, had facial mask exemption cards.
Yeah.
So if they went to a supermarket with people freaking out, it's like, all right, I'm neurodivergent, I'm exempt from
Yeah.
face masks. I think that we should have a similar card for social etiquette. I'm exempt.
Yeah. I don't
am
have to
exempt
follow
from
your
you.
rules. Well, fair enough, Dot. If she's going into, I don't know, like yesterday we were going shopping in Primark, she needed some jeans. She wears, through her choice, not mine, she wears a lanyard that says, I am autistic.
Oh, okay.
Because although she doesn't owe anyone an explanation about who she is and how she might behave, it does stop people being dickheads.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, maybe she should get a second card saying, I will not follow social etiquette. Deal with
Just-
it.
And then list the 10 rules that we've just talked about.
And just
list
say,
them all.
none of these, apart from the not touching people, I've got that one down pat. All of the others, no,
Yeah.
don't expect them. They're not going to happen.
I like it. Just go into any situation, flash your badge.
And just say, I'm exempt.
Now fuck off.
That could be your catchphrase at the end of the podcast. Now, fuck off. I mean, that'd be quite moving.
It would. It'd be emotional.
It's not all rubbish.
Right. So I think that's the topic of the week put to
I
bed.
think we've nailed it.
I wanted to go on to the more positive side of things towards the end of the podcast, where we talk about various different, more uplifting facets of our neuroshambolic lifestyles. One of the things I wanted to talk about was neurodiversity champions. I don't know if you've got any neurodiversity champions this week, Joe.
I can't think of any. Did I
I've
say
got
something?
one.
Remind me. You do yours.
I've got one which is Odeon Cinemas, and I know that other cinemas do this, but there is they have special screenings, autism-friendly screenings, where you go in there and the lights are up, so it's not so dark, and the sound is down, so it's obviously not so loud. And also you're in there with other neurodivergent families who are not going to get pissy about your kids talking through the show or like getting up and trying to touch the screen and stuff. So that was quite nice. Again, it's just, to be able to take them to that environment and not feel like you have to, police their behaviour on account of offending other people is quite nice. And I know that there are other places that do it as well, but Odeon Cinemas, that's
brilliant. I have got one.
So
You've reminded me of it.
Oh, go on then.
The Theatre Royal in Brighton. And so we'd gone with family to see a show just before Christmas, and Dot got overwhelmed. So I approached a member of staff and said, is there somewhere quiet we can sit just while we're waiting for the performance to start? And a lady came up and said, I've got a quiet room. We were whisked off into a quiet side room. And then she went and fetched us drinks and then said, right, you can stay here as long as you need. Someone will come and let you know just before the performance starts and show you to your seats. And it was such a simple, easy thing on their part to do, but made
amazing.
a world of difference. Big up the Theatre Royal in Brighton. Amazing
excellent
job.
work, Theatre Royal Brighton.
Yeah.
Tiny epic wins.
Okay, tiny epic wins. Have you got any tiny epic wins for us?
I was going to tell you about Lewis. That's his real name that I'm using with permission, and his story isn't mine to tell, so suffice it to say this is a kid who's had a really tough life. And Lewis is 15, He's autistic. He's one of our older autistic kids, and he's been helping me at the group for the younger kids for the past 4 months now, 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Every week, I think this is going to be the week that he doesn't come. Every week, I look out the window and see him like swaggering. You know, they do that walk.
Yeah.
Youngsters. I see him swaggering up the path with his vape. He's vaping his massive vape. And he's got his hand down the back of his tracky bees, looking for all the world like a hoodlum. And then he's just brilliant, and he does such an amazing job. And I'm so proud of him. And it makes me fills my heart with joy to see that every week.
Well, he's got some responsibility, and he's got some trust, and, people who get him.
Yeah.
It's so important.
And I just love this little road man, and then this little gaggle of middle-class parents going, he's amazing. He really is amazing. And I'm like, yes, he is.
Yeah, especially because they don't even know the sort of the journey he's had to be there.
Yeah. And he's, so I'm very, very proud of him, and it makes me very happy. What's yours? Have you got
fantastic. I've got, here's one. And it is a tiny win, but it is pretty epic. And it involves Otto.
Okay.
And that Otto has slept in his own bed all night for 3 nights in a row.
That's amazing.
Right. Which sounds like, big deal, but it really is, because he does not like sleeping alone. So he's always coming into my bed or Tam's bed, or he needs people close to him. I think I don't know what it is, and he can't articulate it because he doesn't have the kind of the emotional understanding to be able to tell me what it is. We've tried to solve it because he's a massive wriggler. He's he's also really awake at that time as well, in the middle of the night. It's not like he just sort of snuggles in and dozes off quietly. He is a firecracker.
I love him.
And he's been trying, and we don't have the expectation on him, but we do make it clear that it would be nice if he tried to stay in his own bed.
Yeah, and not keep us awake all night.
But he's really proud of himself. It's really lovely.
That's amazing.
I did 2 nights in a row. What can you do? What will you give me if I do 3 nights in a row? And
oh wow!
Yeah, so it's really,
this could get expensive.
Yeah, I'm not paying him off. But it is. So I don't think it will last. But for 3 nights in a row now, we've all had good night's sleep, which is fantastic.
Oh wow!
What the flip?
So, just what the flip moments to cover now. Have you got any what the flip moments, Joe? Or are you just bracing yourself?
What do you do yours, and I might think of one. I might suddenly go, hang on, no, I do know one.
Right, Jay came up with a joke. So I'm going to do the joke, and then I'll do what followed. He said, "What happened to the Scottish man who provoked an angry bear in prison?"
Oh, I don't know.
He was killed.
That's good.
Right, which is good, right? But I had questions.
I've got questions.
So I said, I like that, Jay. But one question, what does the fact the bear is in prison have to do with it? And he went, well, if he's in prison, he's more angry. Yep, entirely valid. It gives more depth to the joke, I guess.
But I can't top that. I have nothing.
Okay.
That's genius. I mean, he would be quite angry, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's built character to all of the components of the joke. Another one, we were discussing Mount Everest and how difficult it is to climb Mount Everest. And Jay went, if I climb Mount Everest, I'm going to plant a giant flag on the top that says, big whoop, you made it to the top. Now, try and get down without dying.
I mean, yeah.
Providing a heavy dose of reality to someone who is very literally on top of the world.
Yeah, big whoop. Yeah. Oh, he's excellent, isn't he?
The final one I have is Jay was obviously completely infuriated by something that Tam had done. I don't know what. And I just heard him shouting down the stairs, "Mummy, I will flay your skin and call you Jonathan."
Yeah, and I have questions. Why Jonathan?
I don't know. I don't know. I just... I mean, he did neither, to be fair. So it was empty threats.
Yeah.
Thankfully. So he's the gift that keeps on giving, my boy. So all that remains for me to say is to the audience, thank you so much for listening. Obviously, a huge thank you to you, Joe, for coming back and joining us on the Neuro Shambles podcast. I will repeat my nonsense about the socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and Threads, and people are sending some really lovely messages. If there's anything you want to hear us talk about, then send it to hello@neuroshambles.com. I will do my normal sign off, which is thank you and have a nice life. And Joe, you wanted to give us a special additional.
Now, fuck off.
How rude.